I walked through my front door 2 days early from my Chicago business trip, excited to surprise Amanda with the good news about landing that big client. What I found instead was a stranger sprawled across my leather couch, watching my TV and eating food from my kitchen. My confusion turned to shock when I realized it was Jason, Amanda's unemployed ex-boyfriend. We had been together for 2 years and just moved in together 3 months ago. Now, some guy I had never met was acting like he owned the place. When I demanded an explanation, he casually held up my spare house keys. Amanda had given them to him without telling me. Before I tell you how I discovered my girlfriend's betrayal that shattered my world, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like and subscribe button to join me on this painful journey of heartbreak and redemption. I had built a solid career as a software developer in Austin. My specialty was creating security systems for financial institutions, which is ironic considering how blind I was to the breach of trust happening in my own home. Before meeting Amanda, I had gone through a devastating breakup with my college girlfriend, who cheated on me with my roommate. That experience left me cautious and guarded, unwilling to fully trust anyone for nearly 3 years. Then I met Amanda at my coworker Dave's housewarming party. She worked in marketing for a local brewery and had this infectious laugh that would fill any room. With her auburn hair and bright green eyes, she caught my attention immediately. But it was her wit and the way she could tell stories that really drew me in. We ended up talking in Dave's kitchen for 3 hours that night, discovering our shared love for hiking the Greenbelt trails, experimenting with new recipes, and watching obscure indie films no one else seemed to appreciate. Our first date was at a small taco place downtown. She told me about growing up in Portland before moving to Texas for college and staying for work. I shared stories about my childhood in Michigan and my dreams of eventually starting my own software company. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and for the first time since my heartbreak, I felt that spark of connection again. Over the next few months, we fell into a comfortable rhythm, hiking on Saturday mornings, trying new restaurants on Wednesday nights, and spending lazy Sundays watching movies at her apartment. I introduced her to my friend group, who immediately welcomed her. When I met her friends, they told me she had not stopped smiling since we met. Even my parents, who visited from Michigan, pulled me aside to tell me they thought she was special. After 18 months together, I asked her to move in with me. My house was closer to both our workplaces, and we were already spending most nights together anyway. The day she moved in was one of the happiest of my life. We talked about our future, maybe getting a dog together, possibly marriage in a year or two. For the first time in years, I felt completely secure and happy. But around our 2-year anniversary, small things began to change. Amanda would sometimes step outside to take phone calls, something she had never done before. She would cancel our hiking plans last minute, claiming work emergencies that seemed to happen more frequently. Once I overheard her talking about someone named Jason having a rough time since losing his job, but when I asked, she brushed it off, saying it was just an old friend going through a difficult period. Being the supportive boyfriend, I told her to let me know if there was anything we could do to help. Items in our house started appearing in different places than where I had left them. My favorite coffee mug would be in the dishwasher when I was sure I had put it in the cabinet. The throw pillows on the couch would be arranged differently. My bottle of expensive scotch seemed to be emptying faster than my occasional drinking could explain. I dismissed these observations as paranoia, telling myself I was just being overly sensitive. When the opportunity came to pitch our security software to a major bank in Chicago, my boss selected me to lead the presentation. Amanda seemed strangely upset when I told her about the trip, asking if someone else could go in my place. I reminded her this was the promotion opportunity I had been working toward for months. She eventually relented, but her behavior the days before my departure was odd. She kept checking when exactly my flight would land and what time I would be home, claiming she wanted to plan a welcome home dinner. Now I realized she was calculating how much time Jason would have to clear out. The meeting in Chicago went even better than expected. We not only secured the contract, but were asked to expand our proposal to include their satellite branches. I was thrilled and decided to catch an earlier flight home to surprise Amanda with the good news. I imagined her face lighting up when I told her about the bonus I would receive. I even stopped to buy her favorite chocolates at the airport. The whole Uber ride home, I was smiling like a fool, completely unaware of what waited for me. When I first saw Jason lounging on my couch, remote in one hand and beer in the other, I thought I had somehow entered the wrong house. He was watching my Netflix account, his feet propped up on my coffee table, wearing what looked like my old university sweatshirt. The remains of a meal sat on the side table and music was playing from my sound system. Jason looked up casually, as though my appearance was a minor interruption. He was tall and lanky, with a patchy beard and disheveled brown hair. Nothing about him was particularly impressive, which made the situation even more bewildering. When I demanded to know who he was and what he was doing in my house, he simply held up my spare keys and said with an annoying smirk, "So you must be Brooks. Amanda said you would not be back until Friday." The sound of my name in his mouth made my stomach turn. I dropped my suitcase and asked how long he had been staying there. His answer knocked the wind out of me. "On and off for about 2 months," he said, taking another swig of my craft beer. "Whenever you are at work, mostly. Amanda lets me crash here since my landlord kicked me out. 2 months. While I was working 60-hour weeks to build our future, this stranger had been living in my house." I looked around and noticed subtle signs I had missed. An unfamiliar phone charger plugged into the wall, a different brand of toothpaste in our bathroom trash, small scuffs on the wall that had not been there before. I learned that Jason had lost his job as a bartender 6 months earlier and had been floating between friends' couches until Amanda had offered him my house as a solution. He had been eating my food, using my shower, my towels, even wearing some of my clothes that Amanda had given him because they were just sitting in your closet anyway. His attitude was what pushed me from shock to fury. There was no apology, no sense that he recognized the violation. If anything, he seemed annoyed that I had disrupted his comfortable arrangement by coming home early. I told him to get his things and leave immediately. He laughed and said Amanda will be home in a few hours. Why not wait and ask her? This is technically her place too now. The implication was clear. He knew something about my relationship that I did not. He had a confidence that suggested Amanda had given him more than just keys to my house. The thought made me physically ill. I decided to wait for Amanda to return, using the time to inspect my home for further evidence of this invasion. In the guest bathroom, I found men's grooming products tucked behind the towels. In the kitchen, there were snack foods I never purchased. The spare bedroom had rumpled sheets, and the closet contained a duffel bag with men's clothing. Most devastating was finding my father's watch, a graduation gift I kept in my dresser drawer, sitting on the nightstand in the guest room. The boundary violations seemed endless, each discovery another blow. While Jason watched TV downstairs, I checked my bank statements and found several unexplained withdrawals from our joint account over the past few months. Small amounts that I had attributed to Amanda's occasional shopping trips or dinners with friends. Now the pattern was unmistakable. I also found text messages between Amanda and Jason on our shared iPad. Messages confirming that she had been systematically allowing him into our home coordinating times when I would be at work or away. Messages with heart emojis and inside jokes. Messages planning what they would do when I was in Chicago. 3 agonizing hours passed before I heard Amanda's key in the lock. Her face registered several emotions in quick succession when she saw me sitting in the living room with Jason's surprise fear, and then a forced smile as she tried to control the situation. "Brooks, you are home early." "What a surprise," she said, setting down her shopping bags and avoiding eye contact. I asked her calmly to explain why her ex-boyfriend was in our house. She started with lies, claiming he had just stopped by to pick up some marketing materials for a job interview. When I confronted her with the evidence of his extended stays, she shifted to minimizing, saying it had only been a few times when he really needed a place to crash. Each lie made my heart crack further. With every denial, I countered with specific evidence, watching her story evolve and reshape. Finally, when I mentioned the text messages, her strategy changed completely. "Fine," she admitted. "Jason has been staying here sometimes. He lost his apartment after losing his job. He has nowhere to go, and I was not going to let him live on the street. You are always talking about helping people in need. I thought you would understand if I told you." The manipulation in that statement stunned me. She was trying to use my own compassion against me, painting my justified anger as hypocrisy. "So you gave him keys to our house without telling me?" I asked. You have been withdrawing money from our joint account to support him. You let him use my things, wear my clothes, all behind my back." She began crying those tears I had once found, so moving now, seeming calculated. She said she was afraid I would not understand that Jason was going through a rough time, that it was temporary until he got back on his feet. But temporary had already been 2 months, with no end in sight. And nothing explained the intimate tone of their messages, or why she had kept it all secret if her intentions were purely charitable. As Amanda's excuses ran thin, the full truth finally emerged. She had run into Jason at a bar 3 months after moving in with me. He had just lost his job and was facing eviction. What started as coffee to catch up turned into regular meetings. She admitted giving him my spare keys just a month later, justifying it as a temporary emergency measure. I could not believe my ears when she revealed he had been staying at our house 3 to 4 days each week while I was at work. She had been cooking for him, giving him money for job interviews that never materialized, and even letting him drive my car occasionally. The betrayal cut deeper when she confessed they had maintained an emotional connection throughout. While she denied any physical cheating, the text messages told a different story about their intimacy. They had inside jokes about me, my habits, even my work schedule. What hurt most was realizing how methodically she had orchestrated this double life, calibrating his visits around my absences, cleaning up evidence before I returned home, and gaslighting me when I noticed things out of place. When I told her how violated I felt, she actually had the audacity to get defensive. "You are never home anyway," she said. "You work all the time. Jason needed help, and I was just being a decent human being. Why are you making such a big deal about this?" Her words felt like a slap. I had been working long hours to build our future together, to save for the engagement ring I had been planning to buy, and she had used my dedication as an opportunity to betray me. I looked at Jason, who had been silently watching our confrontation with an almost amused expression, and made my decision. "I want him out of my house right now," I said firmly. "He needs to pack whatever belongs to him and leave. Tonight." I did not expect what came next. Amanda stood up and positioned herself between me and Jason. Her next words shattered whatever was left of our relationship. "No," she said. "If Jason goes, I go too. Choose." The room went completely silent. In that moment, everything became painfully clear. I was not her priority. Perhaps I never had been. 2 years of what I thought was building a life together had been conditional all along. I felt a strange calm descend over me as I made the only self-respecting choice possible. "Then you both need to leave," I said quietly. Amanda's expression changed from defiance to shock. She had clearly expected me to back down, to compromise, to accept this unacceptable situation rather than lose her. When she realized I was serious, she began to cry and plead, suddenly changing tactics. "Brooks, you do not mean that. We can talk about this. Jason will find somewhere else to stay," she said, panic rising in her voice. But it was too late. Something had broken permanently in me. My trust had not just been damaged. It had been systematically dismantled over months. "I am not interested in being someone's second choice or backup plan," I told her. "You made your decision long before tonight. Now I am making mine." Jason finally spoke up, telling Amanda they should go to his friend's place. The casual way they communicated, the practiced coordination between them, confirmed they had prepared for this possibility. I stood in my living room emotionally numb as Amanda tearfully packed an overnight bag. She kept trying to talk to me, saying she would call tomorrow when I had calmed down, that we could work through this. I remained silent, already grieving the relationship I thought we had. As they walked out the door, Amanda turned back one last time. "This is not what I want," she said. I closed the door without responding and locked it alone in a home that no longer felt like mine. Every object seemed to hold a memory now tainted. The couch, where we had spent countless movie nights. The kitchen, where we had cooked together. The pictures on the walls that now seemed to mock me with their images of happier times. That night was the longest of my life. I alternated between rage, devastation, and a strange sense of relief that at least the deception was over. I questioned every moment of our relationship, wondering what had been real and what had been manipulation. In the following days, Amanda called and texted constantly. Her messages swung between anger accusations that I was overreacting and tearful pleas for another chance. I maintained my silence, needing space to process the magnitude of the betrayal. Friends began reaching out, and I discovered some had suspected something was off but had not wanted to interfere. My friend Dave admitted seeing Amanda and Jason together at a restaurant several weeks earlier, but had assumed I knew and had approved of their friendship. Others shared similar stories, pieces of a puzzle I had been too trusting to see. Each revelation was another wound, but also confirmation that ending the relationship was the only possible response. What hurt most was not just Amanda's betrayal, but the realization that she had been willing to gaslight me rather than admit the truth, making me question my own perceptions and instincts. The first week after Amanda and Jason left was the hardest. I took time off work, something I rarely did, just to process what had happened. My first priority was changing the locks. The locksmith gave me a sympathetic look when I explained the situation, mentioning he had seen similar scenarios more often than I might think. I deep cleaned the house, throwing away anything that reminded me of Jason's presence. I rearranged furniture, bought new bedding for the guest room, and donated the clothes Amanda had given him. Each act of reclaiming my space helped restore a small sense of control. My friends were incredible during this time. Dave came over with pizza and beer almost every night that first week, just sitting with me as I worked through my anger and confusion. My sister flew in from Michigan for a weekend, helping me create new routines and spaces in my home. I found a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. In our sessions, I began to understand how I had missed the red flags. Amanda's increasing secretiveness, her defensiveness when asked simple questions, the way she would deflect conversations about our future. My therapist helped me see that while trust is essential in relationships, blind trust can make us vulnerable to those who do not deserve it. Work became a sanctuary. I threw myself into new projects, using the creative challenge of coding to occupy my mind during the day. My boss was understanding, even offering me the chance to work remotely from Michigan for a few weeks if I wanted to spend time with family. I declined, but appreciated the support. Slowly, I established new patterns. Morning runs through the neighborhood. Cooking classes on Thursday evenings. A weekend hiking group that explored trails I had never visited with Amanda. Each new activity helped me redefine my life as my own again. 3 months after that fateful night, my doorbell rang on a Sunday afternoon. When I opened it, Amanda stood there looking completely different from the confident woman who had given me an ultimatum. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her eyes puffy from crying. Her normally impeccable outfit replaced with a wrinkled sweater and jeans. "Brooks, can we talk?" she asked, her voice small. Against my better judgment, I let her in. We sat at my kitchen table, the place where we had shared countless meals and conversations in happier times. She told me that Jason had used her just as he had used me. After staying at his friend's place for a few weeks, they had gotten an apartment together. But once she was paying all the bills, he had stopped even pretending to look for work. He would disappear for days without explanation, return drunk, and become verbally abusive when she questioned him. The final straw came when she discovered he had been seeing other women the entire time, often bringing them to the apartment when she was at work. When she confronted him, he had laughed and told her she was replaceable just like I had been. Now Jason was gone, and Amanda was facing eviction because she could not afford the apartment alone. She had realized, she claimed, what a terrible mistake she had made, how she had thrown away something real and valuable for an illusion. I found my heart softening as she cried, remembering the woman I had fallen in love with. For a moment, I considered the possibility of forgiveness, of trying again with clearer boundaries and expectations. But then she said the words that confirmed ending our relationship had been the right decision. "I really need a place to stay, Brooks. Just until I find something else. We were so good together. I know you still love me." She had not come back because she recognized the depth of her betrayal, or because she truly valued what we had built. She had come back because she needed something from me again. The manipulation was still there, just wrapped in a different package. I took a deep breath and spoke from a place of calm certainty. "Amanda, I am sorry for what you are going through. Truly. But what we had is over. I deserve someone who chooses me first, not as a backup plan when other options fail. I hope you find somewhere to stay, but it cannot be here." Her expression changed rapidly from hope to disbelief to anger. She accused me of being heartless, of abandoning her when she needed me most, of never having really loved her. The emotional manipulation that had once worked on me now stood out in stark relief. I remained calm as I walked her to the door. This time, when I closed it behind her, I felt no devastation, only a quiet certainty that I was protecting myself from further harm. 6 months after discovering Jason in my living room, my life had transformed in ways I never expected. My promotion at work had come through partly due to the success of the Chicago project. I had redecorated my house completely, creating a space that reflected only my preferences and style. I had even adopted a dog, a rescue mutt named Max, who greeted me with unrestrained joy every evening. I had dinner with Dave and his wife monthly. I had reconnected with old friends I had somewhat neglected during my relationship with Amanda. I had started dating again casually and with much clearer boundaries. I had met someone interesting, a software engineer named Sarah who respected my space and shared my values about honesty and communication. Most importantly, I had learned to trust my instincts. When something felt wrong, I now addressed it directly rather than dismissing my concerns. I had become more observant of people's actions rather than just their words. And I had developed a profound appreciation for relationships built on mutual respect rather than convenience or dependency. The betrayal that had once seemed like the end of my world had actually been the beginning of a more authentic life. I no longer feared being alone as much as I feared compromising my self-respect, and in that shift, I had found a freedom and peace I had never known was possible. Looking back now, I can almost feel grateful for that moment of finding Jason in my living room. Without that painful awakening, I might have continued in a relationship that was slowly diminishing me, unaware of how much more I deserved. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most necessary beginnings. And in choosing myself when Amanda forced that ultimatum, I finally learned the most important lesson: when someone shows you who they really are and what they truly value, believe them the first time. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between staying in a comfortable but unhealthy relationship or facing the unknown alone? What helped you find the strength to choose your self-respect? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear this message. Remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every day, not just when it is convenient. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I wish you the courage to honor yourself in every relationship.